Thank you. Thank you, everybody. My work straddles a number of sectors, but for purposes of this conversation, I'm going to keep my remarks kind of focused on the media. The other sector that I lead in is the philanthropic sector, which is $135 billion sector in this country. So there's a much bigger conversation to be had about that, maybe at another time. In every room that I've been in, I would say for the past year, for sure, the thing that keeps coming up over and over and over again is polarization, misinformation, disinformation, deep concern about our democracy. And I think in Canada, I hear this. Outside of Canada, we are very, very. We're very not concerned about this issue in a way that we should be. I spent some time in the U.S. just recently at an event there, and it's a whole other conversation. We're talking crisis, urgency, like emergency in the lead up to the election. Why does this matter for all of us in this room, for all sorts of communities? Well, the erosion of civil engagement happens at the hyper-local level. So when we lose our hyper-local publications, which is your local little newspaper, the local little whatever it is that you trust, we have the greatest amount of trust in the hyper-local. When that disappears, we start to lose more and more trust the further away we go from the hyper-local. As a result of that, we have an entire infrastructure that has eroded in this country. Now, the good news is there are newer players in the country, and 4 hours ago, Google just made an announcement, and I was working behind the scenes on that as well. That's a very good kind of recognition of some of the newer players in the ecosystem. But if we are not engaged at the hyper-local level, we're less likely to vote. We are less likely to go to the local school board meeting. We're less likely to, hold our mayor accountable. And a lot of the policies that are passed at that level affect communities profoundly. We have so much research, we don't need more around what this actually means for all kinds of communities. There's some incredible examples and some mind-blowing work coming out of the U.S. in terms of how to address this issue. The bigger existential piece here, and we're seeing it in this moment as well, given what's happening in Palestine and in Israel, and that is there is no shared agreement on facts. We have seen the notion of facts also disappear as a kind of a hallmark of democratic discourse. And when we can no longer agree that any facts exist, or that the only facts that exist are the facts that we want to exist, that is like an alarm for our democracy. So for many of us in this room, we know that narratives have the power to change policies. Narratives can incite violence. Narratives can also make you profoundly connected to your neighbor, regardless of who you are. You can also have narratives in this world that can foster a sense of pluralism, something that we say we are as Canadians, and something we're not actually very good at. And so from my perspective, this is a fundamental issue. And there are lots of different initiatives going on around the country with all sorts of different groups. But at the end of the day, this is profound for all of us, because the moment we start to disengage from civil discourse, and we are also disengaging from our democracy. And so that should concern all of us.